This is National Native News. I'm Antonia Gonzalez. In 1863, the U.S. Army massacred most of the northwestern band of the Shoshone at a place called Bear River in southern Idaho. It was one of the largest massacres in the history of the American West. As Daisha Eaton with KUER reports, the tribe plans to build an interpretive center there to tell their story of survival.
Alongside Highway 91, just north of Utah's border with Idaho, there's a prayer tree lined with remnants of faded cloth. Hundreds have gathered beside it today in the Cache Valley near Preston, Idaho, to mark the 156th anniversary of one of the largest massacres of indigenous people in the history of the West.
Up until a few years ago, the memorial was attended by a handful of natives from a variety of tribes. Strangely absent were members of the Northwestern Band of Shoshone Nation.
That's Darren Perry, the chairman or chief of the Northwestern Band of the Shoshone Nation, who for years has worked to build awareness about what happened here, beyond a couple of commemorative roadside plaques and an interpretive sign. Bear River is the largest single massacre of Native Americans in the trans-Mississippi West, but hardly anyone knows about it. Approximately 150 members of the Northwestern Band of the Shoshone survived, including ancestors of Perry and Patty Timbimbu Madsen.
We need to remember those that were lost, but be thankful for those that lived through it.
She's the Cultural Resources Manager for the Northwestern Band.
As a tribal member, it is your responsibility to pass on the knowledge of the tribe. I think their efforts to do this will make it easier for them to know and to understand and to be proud of who they are.
Back at the event, 17-year-old Wyatt Beasley with the Shoshone Bannock Junior and Senior High School says he learned a lot.
I feel good about it. I feel like I'm learning my history and my culture. People need to know what happened or what our people went through.
The tribe has purchased a large stretch of the valley where they plan to build an interpretive center. They hope to break ground on the project by 2020. I'm Daisha Eaton near Preston, Idaho.
Tribal leaders, advocates, and state lawmakers honored New Mexico Congresswoman Deb Haaland in Santa Fe on Friday. A state proclamation honors her as one of the first Native American women elected to Congress and for her work advocating for missing and murdered Indigenous women. Haaland was among speakers at American Indian Day at New Mexico's legislature. She's prioritized to work on missing and murdered Indigenous women cases. Meanwhile, legislation in the state seeks to create a task force to address missing and murdered Indigenous women. Advocates say there's a need to collect data and collaborate between tribal, state, and federal agencies to respond to and track cases. The task force would include tribal, state, and federal members. They would conduct a study and propose findings to state leaders. New Mexico Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham met with tribal leaders at the state capitol Friday, committing to work on government-to-government relationships with tribes. The governor recently appointed Lynn Trujillo to her cabinet to serve as Secretary of Indian Affairs. Lujan Grisham acknowledged the 10th anniversary of a law intended to facilitate relationships at the cabinet level between the state and tribes. She also expressed her support for legislation to replace Columbus Day with Indigenous Peoples Day. A bill in the state legislature would rename the holiday statewide. In Arizona on Sunday, Navajo professional golfer Ricky Fowler won the Phoenix Open. The Navajo Nation congratulated him, thanking him for being an inspiration to Navajo people and setting an example for youth. I'm Antonia Gonzalez.
National Native News is produced by Koahnic Broadcast Corporation with funding by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting.
Support by AARP. AARP creates and connects people to unique tools and programs, helps conserve personal resources, and tackles issues that matter most to individuals, families, and communities. More at aarp.org.
Support by the Herd Museum, hosting the 29th Annual Hoop Dance World Championship, where you can see more than 80 talented native hoop dancers vie for the championship title February 9th and 10th. Details at herd.org.
Native Voice One, the Native American Radio Network.